Greetings friends, welcome to our channel Code Chef. Today we are going to solve the problem flow division game. The problem code is FDIVGAME. This is a medium level problem and there is an important prerequisite for this problem, which is the concept of game theory and Sprague-Grundy theorem. So let's move to the problem statement. Henry and Derek are playing a game. They write n positive numbers on the blackboard. Henry plays the first move. In one move, what they can do is they can select a number and then divide it by 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6. Note that they are going to do the flow division. If the number has become 0, then they will remove that number, and if the number is not equal to 0, then they will replace the number by the divided value. The player who makes the last move will win. If we assume that both Henry and Derek are going to play optimally, then we need to say that who is going to win this particular game. Let us try to understand the problem with the help of sample cases. For the first test case, we have two numbers. One is 3 and the other number is 4. Henry is going to play the first move. For this problem, let us assume that Henry is represented by A and Derek is represented by B. So now both of them start with a state where one number is 3 and another number is 4. A and B both are going to play optimally. So let us assume that A plays the move that he considers the number 4 and divides it by 2. So now the array that is left is 3, 2. Now B can play multiple moves. Some of those are, he can select this number 2 and divide it by any number 3, 4, 5 or 6. In which case, this number will become 0 and it will be out of the array. So we'll be left with only 3. Or he can choose the number 3 and divide it by any number like 4, 5, 6 and will be left only with 2. Or he can choose the number 2 and divide it by 2. In that case, we'll be left with 3, 1. If B has played any of these moves, what can A do? If B has played this move, in the next move A can divide this 3 by a number like 6 and will be left with 0, 0, which means that there is no number remaining. So A is the player who made the last move. So A wins. Similarly, for this case, A can divide this value 2 by any number like 4. We will again be left with no number. So here also A wins. But in this case, what A can do is, he can select this number 3 and divide it by 3. In that case, we will be left with 1, 1. And if we are left with 1, 1, in the next move, B has to select one of this number and divide it by any number like 2, 3, 4 or 5. And since all of those are greater than 1, so we will be left with only 0, 1. And in the next move, what A can do is, he can select this value 1 and divide it by a number like 3 or 4 and we will be left with 0, 0, which is again an end state and a winning state. So in this case also player A wins. We can see that player A always has an optimal strategy to win this game. So the winner of this game is going to be A. In our case, A is represented by Henry. Next, let us have a look at the constraints of this problem. For this problem, we might have up to 10 to the power 3 test cases, and in each test case, the value of n is between 1 and 100. That means we can be given up to 100 different numbers. And note that these AI values are ranging from 1 to 10 to the power 18. Now let us have a look at the solution of this problem. But before moving to the solution, I would like to ask you to pause the video here and try to solve the problem on your own. One important thing that I would like to say is that this problem can only be solved with the concept of Sprague-Grundy theorem and game theory. As those two were the prerequisite for this problem, we can start our solution. But before moving to the solution, I would like to brush up what are these two theorems. So first, if we have an impartial game, and our game is an impartial game because no matter who is playing A or B, both of them can make only the same moves, which is divide the numbers by 2, 3, 4 or 5. So our game is an impartial game. So if we have an impartial game, we can consider the entire game as the combination of n games. And these n games are, we can consider each AI to be an independent game. And we can find the result for each game independently, and then we can combine the result for these n games. So how can we combine the result for n games? If the current player has a winning strategy, if and only if the XOR sum of the Gundy numbers of all the given numbers is going to be 0. Knowing this thing is a prerequisite for this problem. What are Gundy numbers? Each state of a game is represented by a Gundy number, and this Gundy number is used in order to determine whether the player is in a winning state or in a losing state. So we'll call a Gundy number of any state I as g of I. So what does Prague-Gundy theorem states is that in a two-player impartial game, if we are currently at some state Vi and all the states that are reachable from these states are 1, 2 and so on till k, then the Gundy number of this particular state is going to be the max of Gundy number of all the resultant states. What is max? Max is the smallest non-negative integer which is not present in this array. In other words, what we are going to do is we are going to go to each of the next state. We are going to find the Gundy number of that state recursively, and after we get the Gundy number of each of the state, we are going to take the max of all of those Gundy number in order to find the Gundy number for this state. If the Gundy value is going to be 0, it means that this state is losing state, and any other Gundy value other than 0 is going to be an winning state. The three theorems that I have stated are prerequisite for this problem, and if you are unfamiliar with these three theorems, I would suggest you to pause the video here and try to learn the Sprague-Grundy theorem and then come back to this problem. So according to these three theorems, what we can do is, if we need to find the winner of this particular game, we can consider all the given numbers as independent numbers like A1, A2 and A3. We can try to find the Gundy number for each of these states. Once we find the Gundy number for each of these states, what we are going to do is, we need to take the XOR sum of these Gundy numbers, and if the XOR sum of these Gundy numbers comes out 0, then this game is a losing game for the player who is starting. And who is starting? The player A starts. So if and only if the XOR of all the Gundy numbers comes out to be 0, the player A loses. In all the other cases, the player A is going to win the game. So now we need to find some way so that we can find the Gundy number of each state in a faster manner. The simplest way to find the Gundy number for any state, where a state is represented by a number n, is by using the concept of recursion. What we can do is, what are the states that can be reached from this particular value? The states that can be reached are, we can go to a number like n by 2 or an n by 3 or n by 4 or n by 5 or n by 6. So these are the 5 states that are reachable. What we can do is, we can recursively call and find what's the Gundy number of these states. And once we are able to find what are the Gundy number of these states, the Gundy number of this state can be easily found by taking the max of this number. Now what is max? Max is the smallest non-negative value which has not appeared. I'll take an example to explain what max is. Consider we have an array like 0, 1, 3, 5 and 7. Then which is the smallest number, which is the smallest non-negative number which is not appearing? It's 2. So 2 is going to be the max. Consider that 2 is also present in the array. Then which is the smallest number which is not present? It's going to be 4. So 4 is going to be our max. Now consider that 0 itself is not present. Then which is the smallest non-negative number which is not present? It's going to be 0. Then 0 is going to be our max. So by recursively finding the Gundy number of the reachable states and then taking the max of all of those Gundy number, we can find the Gundy number of any state. But what would the time complexity of this approach be? So if we were to recursively find the Gundy number for each of these states, for some value n, we would have to go at max log n layers. Because in each stage the value at least gets halved, so we need to find log n values. But in each stage, it can get branched to 5 different values. So the total number of states that we have to reach would be 5 to the power log n. This is just an estimate number. but 5 to the power log n is approximately of the order O of n. And for the given problem, the value of n was 10 to the power 18. So this approach of finding the Grundy number will not work. But unfortunately for this problem, there is no other way to find the Grundy number. So what can we do? So we are stuck in this problem. We cannot recursively find the Grundy number because that will exceed the time limit, and there is no other way to find the Grundy number other than this particular way. So how are we supposed to find the Grundy number? Sometimes when we are stuck in some problem, what we have to do is we have to consider a smaller subproblem, try to find the solution for that subproblem, and then try to find whether there exists some pattern or not. So for this problem also we can do the same thing. What I have done is I have considered to find the Grundy number for all the values from 1 to some value like 1000. Once I have found the Grundy number for all the values from 1 to 1000, I have listed down what are those Grundy numbers. And once I have listed those Grundy numbers, I tried to find some particular pattern. And with the help of that pattern, we can move to a solution. So first what we can do is we can write a code where we are going to generate the Grundy number for all the values from 1 to 1000. After that we'll try to look and find if there exists some pattern or not. So this is how we are going to find the Grundy number for any state, where a state is represented as n. If this value is 0, it means that there is nothing left, so the Grundy number is going to be 0. And in other cases, what we have to do is we have to go to all the other states like n by 2, n by 3, n by 4, n by 5 and n by 6. These will be the new Grundy numbers. We have to find the Grundy number of these states, and what I have done is I have inserted these Grundy numbers into a set. After which what I am doing is I am iterating from 0, and then I am checking which is the smallest number which is not present in this set, and the smallest number which is not present in this set is going to be our Grundy number. So I am going to return this Grundy number. This approach that I have used will not work for larger values of n, but will work very easily for smaller values of n. So what I have done next is I have iterated from all the values from 0 to 1000, and then in the Grundy array what I have done is I have pushed back the Grundy number. And after I have pushed back the Grundy number, what I am going to do is I am going to print the Grundy number. So let's try to print the Grundy number and see if there exists some pattern or not. So here we can see the Grundy numbers. So the Grundy number for 0 is 0, then for 1 is 1, then we have 2, 2, then we have 3, 3, then we have 6 zeros, after which we have many 1s, after which we have many 2s. Looking at this, we are unable to find what's the pattern. But one thing that we can see is that many numbers are repeating in chunks. So what we can do is we can try to print this array in the basis of the number which is present and the size of the chunk, then the next number that is present and the size of that chunk, and so on. So for that what I have done is since I have pushed all the Grundy numbers into this vector, then I am iterating from 1 to max n, and then if it's the same as the previous Grundy number, I am just incrementing the length of this chunk, and if it's a new number, then I am printing which is the Grundy number which was used and what's the length of this Grundy number, and after which I am printing all of these chunks. So this is the result that we can see. The number 1 appears 1 time, then 2 appears 2 times, then 3 appears 2 times, then 0 appears 6 times. But after that, number 1, 2, 3, 0. 1, 2, 3 and next number will be 0. So the numbers are appearing in a cyclic order. This is the first observation that we can make, that the numbers are appearing in cyclic order. First a few 1s are appearing, then a few 2, then a few 3s and then 0s. Again 1s, 2s, 3s, 0s and so on. Now let us see what are the sizes of these chunks. First 1, 2, 2, 6. After that we can see that all of these sizes have got multiplied by 12 and we get 12, 24, 24, 72. Again we can see that these numbers have got multiplied by 12. 12 into 12 is 144. 144, 288, 288 and next value is going to be 72 times 12. So one pattern that we have noticed is, first there is one element of 1, then 2 elements of 2, then 2 elements of 3, then 6 elements of 0. After which we can see that there is a cyclic repeat of these numbers. There is a chunk of 1, then a chunk of 2, then a chunk of 3, and then a chunk of 0. And what are the sizes of these chunks? The sizes of these chunks are 12 times the sizes of the previous chunk of the same type. 12, 1. The next time we get 1, it's 144, which is 12 times 12. The next time we get is 1728, which is 12 times 144. So we can see that these numbers are appearing in chunks, they are appearing in cyclic order, and every time the sizes of these chunks are getting multiplied by 12. Based on this observation, we need to find what is going to be the Grundy number of some particular state, and we need to find this value in faster time. So now this is the Grundy table, that is Grundy number. That is, the Grundy number for 0 is 0, for 1 is 1, for 2, 2, then 2, 3, 3, then we have 6 times 0, then 12 times 1, then 24 times 2, and so on. So what we can do is, we can see that first we can have a base case where if the value of n is lesser than 12, then our Grundy number will be given based on this array. But one observation that we can make is, for any value greater than 12, let us consider value as 24. The Grundy number is same as the Grundy number of n by 12. We can see this by considering that for 24, the Grundy number is same as the Grundy number of 2, which is 2. For 48, the Grundy number is same as 48 by 12, which is 4. Both have 3. For any point between 12 and 24, let us consider a point like 20. The Grundy number is same as 20 by 12, which is 1. So what is the Grundy number of 1? It is 1. So the Grundy number of this number is also 1. In other words, we can easily say that the Grundy number of any n which is greater than 12 is same as the Grundy number of n by 12. This observation will help us to find the Grundy number of any particular n in very fast time. Since in order to find the Grundy number of any state, we are going to look at a state which will be n by 12. So the time complexity of finding a Grundy number for any value is going to be log base 12 of n, which will be very fast, because even for a value like 10 to the power 18, log base 12 will not be greater than 20 steps. And once we reach any value where n will be lesser than 12, we can easily give our Grundy number based on this array. The Grundy number of any value from 0 to 11 can be given based on this array. So once we know what are the Grundy value for any state, we can easily find our solution, because our solution was based on the concept of Sprague-Grundy theorem, where once we have found the Grundy number of any state, once we have found the Grundy number of all the states, we can find the XOR of all the Grundy numbers, and if that XOR value is going to be 0, only then the player A will lose. If it will be any value other than 0, then the player A is going to win. In our case, player A is Henry and the player B is Derek. So what we have to do is, we have to find all the Grundy numbers, we have to take XOR. If the Grundy number is equal to 0, we will print that Derek is going to win. Otherwise, we will print that Henry is going to win. So based on all these observations, we can start coding our solution. First, we need to take the total number of test cases. After taking all the test cases, what we can do is, we need to take the total number of elements as our input. After we take all the elements, we need to take these n elements, and we need to find the Grundy number of those n elements. But how are we going to find the Grundy number of those n elements? What we can do is, we can write a function Grundy, and what this function will do is, it will take a state as its input, and once it has taken the state, what we are going to do is, if this state number is lesser than 12, then we are going to give the value based on our array. But in the other case, our value is going to be same as Gundy value of n by 12. And now how can we find the Gundy number for n lesser than or equal to 12? We can create a vector which is going to have all the Gundy values, which are going to be 0 for 0, then there was 1 1, then 2 times 2, then 2 times 3, then we had 6 times 0. So for n which will be lesser than or equal to 12, so for n which will be lesser than 12, what we have to return is just g of n. And for any n which will be greater than this 12, we are going to return the Gundy of n by 12. Now after we have taken n as our input, we need to take n elements as our input. For that, what we can do is we can have an iteration of length n, and for each iteration we can take a number x, after which we have to find what's the Gundy value of this x. We need to find the XOR of all these Gundy values. Where can we store these XOR values? XX, where I am going to store the XOR of all the elements. So once I find the Gundy number, what I have to do is I have to take its XOR with the cumulative XOR sum that we are creating. Once all the Gundy numbers are found and we have taken the XOR of all those Gundy numbers, what we have to do? We have to check whether that XOR value is equal to 0 or not. If it's equal to 0, that is the only case when Derek is going to win. And in all the other cases, we can say that Henry is going to win. Let us try to run our solution on the sample cases. We can see that our solution has passed the sample cases. Now we will try to submit our code. Now we need to wait for the result. We can see that our solution has got accepted. Now let us have a look at what's the time complexity of our solution. In total, we are going to do n iterations, and in each iteration we need to find the Gundy value of any number. And the Gundy value of any state is only dependent on the n by 12 value of that state. In other words, in each step, the value of n decreases by a factor of 12. So the time complexity of finding Gundy number is going to be log base 12 of n. So the total time complexity is going to be n times log base 12 of ai, which can be at most 10 to the power 18. In other words, for each iteration we might take 100 into log base 12 10 to the power 18. In other words, the time complexity of our solution is simply n times log base 12 max of ai. This sums up our solution. Thank you. If you like the problem and its solution, do like the video. Also, drop a comment if you have any further query. I hope that this problem helps you to upskill yourself in your journey to crack Snackdown. Snackdown is the flagship event of CodeChef. It's a competitive programming event in which programmers from throughout the globe join, participate, and compete under the same roof. Participating in such an event would help you to interact with coders from throughout the globe. I hope that you continue upskilling yourself by practicing other problems from the mock contest. Thank you.